Okay, so I talked about, some of the other things you can do with your hands, how you can learn how to move your arms. One area though you want to put some emphasis into, and that is developing your torso. And when I say torso, I'm also talking about the shoulder area and the neck area as well. And I'm not talking about doing neck bridges like we used to do in football or wrestling. I'm not talking about that, because I got enough problems with my neck, and I don't need that, right? But what I'm talking about is in here, from your hips, your shoulders, all this in here. You have muscles in here. You got all kinds of muscles, including muscles you can't see known as transverse muscles. Trust me, you don't want to strain a transverse muscle. It's a different kind of pain, because usually it's attached to your spine or whatever the case may be, and it's a pain you can't imagine, because you can never really pinpoint the problem unless you go see a doctor and then he tells you what's really wrong with you, right? So one of the things I do is I get my shoulders moving. And I like to, basically like you do shoulder shrugs, roll in my shoulders and roll in one at a time and really getting this feel. But it's not a jerky up and down thing, but it's a smooth rolling. If I'm gonna go up and down, it's a smooth movement at first. And the reason for that is I wanna feel the muscles working, but I also don't wanna get so jerky that I end up straining myself. These are very strong muscles. So I'm rolling the shoulders, then I roll forward. Let me turn this way so you can see. And I'm just rolling the shoulders forward. And you can see my body's turning a little, and that's okay, you want that. And what I'm doing is activating these muscles and training them to be able to do stuff like this. Then here in the torso, I start making my body almost like a big sack of water. And I start moving my hips, and I start moving my body. And I start really relaxing and letting my arms just hang where I bring them up, but letting my arms be relaxed. And what I'm doing is I'm loosening my body, but it's not a floppy, uncontrolled thing. It's subtle muscle control. So while there's a lot of freedom in here of how I'm doing this and feeling how this is feeling to my body internally, there's still a level of control, because you don't want to just move for the sake of moving. One of the other things I do is, when I teach people how to pocket. The reason I teach pocketing, it also develops the body and develops the muscles, but also, it kind of keeps you from getting punched in the chest. And that is, I take my body, and I'll show you. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to roll my shoulders forward. And by rolling my shoulders forward, it's going to start creating space here, but it also is going to expand my back and push my back outward while I concave my chest. So it's going to look like this. So as I roll the shoulders forward, because it's going to give me the space to do it, and then I concave my chest as far as I can go without leaning or anything like that. I don't want to fall. Usually I like to put one leg behind the other, just in case I do lose balance. And I just go like this. And I want to feel myself concaving. I want to feel the muscles in the back stretch. Now, for those people who've worked with me, and they can see, especially if I sink my weight a little bit, I can really pocket a lot. You don't have to be able to pocket as much as I can. That's just crazy. And that's because, here's the deal. Whatever you can do, that's all that matters. And the reason is, I can pocket so much like that is because, listen, if you didn't have my parents, you ain't pocketing like that. It's just that simple. I know people who can even do it more than me. You know why? They were born like that. And that's okay. Some people are born strong, some people are born not strong. But you can still, within your own body, develop strength. So it's the same thing. Some people have a lot of pliability in here. Some people only have a little bit. Doesn't matter. You only need enough that when something's coming in to hit you in the chest, you can move your body in a way that even if you get hit, just like how a boxer rolls with the punches, you don't bear the full brunt of it. And by the way, when I'm flowing and I'm getting hit in the body, I'm not doing this. My body only moves a little bit. But because I have that range of motion available to me, it allows me just a greater freedom when I'm trying to get the heck out of it, because I don't want to get hit either. So don't get crazy about it, is my point. Then I like to bring my arms up. And what I do is roll my shoulders back. Okay, this is gonna really hurt, like for real. And I try to roll it back. And I try to keep my hands in the same spot. In the book Attack Proof, we call this rowing the boat. Brilliant exercise. And what I'm doing is I'm isolating these muscle groups in here. And obviously there's a polarity that's keeping my hands in this position where part of my muscles are working in the opposite direction, otherwise my hands start moving. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to develop this coordination in here. Then I move my hands with it. And I usually like to separate the hands when I move the hands with it. And what I'm doing is as our shoulder rolls back, the whole arm is moving with it. So it's not just this, now it's this as well. And I only do that a couple of times. And what I'm doing is I'm concentrating on developing the control and the coordination to be able to do that. Eventually, you know, you start getting like, you know, some Saturday Night Fever stuff, you know, where you're kind of like this, you know. But the point is, you want that level of control in there as best as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. The truth is, it's never perfect. You know, as Vince Lombardi said it best, you know, well, if we strive for perfection, well, the truth is you can't achieve perfection because it's unknowable. But by striving for perfection, you can catch excellence along the way. So I'm always trying to catch excellence along the way, because every time you get better at something, you know, well, the reason you got better is because you still had more room to grow. Like, you can't get better at something if you're already, you know, at the 100% max of whatever that is. That's it. But if there's not a potential to get better, you stay there. But I've found that people who do this, even as they get well into their 70s and 80s, you'd be surprised how they can move, because there's a lot of BS in the whole aging and, you know, just how people perceive it. But anyways, so as I'm doing this, and then I go one at a time, and then I roll it forward, and I try to do the same things. And why do I try to do the same things? Because I just want to develop the muscle to be free so that I can move my shoulders and move my arms, and also be able to move, and I'll get into that in a minute, around things without getting all tense. The other thing I like to do when I'm doing this kind of stuff with the shoulders is also kind of these kind of motions. So I was showing you this kind of stuff before, right? Rolling the hands, all this stuff, right? I also like to do some kind of wax on, wax off, where I move in the opposite directions. So if my hand's going in this direction, I move my body. I move my body. The truth is, as I'm moving my body, my hand is only moving maybe a couple inches. But the illusion that my arm is making these big movements is because my body is moving behind it. And I'm rotating, and I'll even turn. And I just, like I said, I just make this stuff up. Then I do the same thing outward, whereas I'm almost kind of like I'm pushing away, like what I was doing here, only I'm going in the opposite direction. And you can see that. And some people say, well, why would you do that? Because sometimes I need to do that. It's that simple. Why do I do this? Why do I do this? Because sometimes I need to do that. That's all it is. And it's better I get a hand on it sometimes, where I can feel where the heck I need the steps, so I can, you know, send them off to La La Land, wherever I need to send them. The other thing I like to do, you know, and, you know, don't do this in front of, you know, your wife or your granddaughter, like in my case, because then they're gonna like want to do the Cabbage Patch with you. But I go back and forth with my arms, feeling this graceful movement. So I kind of get that going, you know. I want to feel this right in your shoulders. And then, you know, I start moving my body in opposite directions, kind of like how you do in the Cabbage Patch or whatever, you know. And what I'm doing is I'm just training myself, so when I got to move around things and I need kind of that coordination, that control, that fluidness, I'm not sitting there, you know, like the Borg here, or, you know, moving, you know, in a stiff manner. And as I'm doing this stuff, I'm just playing around with it and having fun. And that's all you want to do. You just want to have fun with this stuff.